We got two brand new faces, but it is indeed the same three races as we are here for the GSL Season 2, brought to you by Sony Ericsson and Blizzard. I'm Jason Lee, and with me is Greg Field, also known as Idra. Idra, welcome to the show, as we're going to be bringing you the round of 64 here in the GSL Season 2. Some great matches that we have lined up, obviously. And for those of you who do not know, Greg, also known as Idra, obviously a pro gamer himself, playing in this tournament. Actually, you're going to be playing tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm the third match in the first set of games tomorrow morning, so it'll be a lot of fun.
It certainly is. When you're playing in a tournament like this, some people, perhaps they're not as familiar with the difference between playing in a tournament, playing in that booth, playing with people watching you, knowing that everyone knows every move that you're doing, as opposed to being in your pajamas, playing at home in front of your PC with your mother or brother looking over your shoulder as to what you're doing. What is the difference between playing in a tournament and just playing?
Well, it's absolutely huge. There's so many players who, they're great in practice. They beat everyone. You put them on stage and nerfs kill them. Like, they play half as good as they can. It's all a matter of experience. Like, you just have to learn to put it all out of your mind and not think about it.
All right. Well, we're going to get to some of the results from earlier today. In a moment, obviously, we've had some very big games. And let's take a look at those results. 2-1, it was jookTojung who went on to a victory over Cezanne. It was San Zenith, 2-1 winner over Hyperdub. 2-0 clean sweep by next Sohoshin. He defeated Free DSL Wera. And 2-1 win for Tank Boy Prime as he defeated Clyde. If we look at those results, Clyde probably losing a bit of an upset among the day results.
Yeah, Clyde and Cezanne there were huge upsets.
Let's take a look at today's matches, though. We have Gilja taking on jookTojung. Is jookTojung against Bless. Polt Prime will be up against Terius Foe. And it is Legal Mind Zenith against Lenok. Czech Prime against Next Gamut. Any of these matches in particular jump out at you that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, there's a lot of big names playing today. Czech Prime is by far the biggest Star 2 player. He's pretty much the second best Zerg in Korea. He's a great player, really known for his creative and micro-oriented player. Like, he's a War 3 player, so he's not as much focused on the economy as a lot of the Star 1 players. Also, we have Gilja, who was actually the famous Star 1 pro gamer CHRH from a long time ago.
Okay, well, certainly some big names participating in this tournament, some that we're looking forward to, and hopefully we'll be able to see some very cool things out there. One of the things that I find that is interesting about playing a tournament like this as well is some of the creativity that you see. And, when we talk about playing at home or just playing, sometimes you want to play to just win. Obviously, everybody wants to win a game, but when you're playing in a tournament like this, you can really make a name for yourself by doing stuff that other people don't even think of. And when you pull off something like that in a tournament, in a real match, that can really make you the difference between being a good player and becoming a famous player to becoming an infamous player.
Oh, definitely. Some of the biggest players from Season 1 didn't win particularly well. Like, they just did something that stood out in someone's mind. Like, Hyperdub, everyone knows Hyperdub, even though he lost in, the third round because he did the proxy BBS to TLO. Yeah, and we actually could see that today because, like I said, Czech is a player who's very creative. Also, we have Lin, who's a War 3 player, and they often bring that kind of play to the table because they're not as comfortable with long games.
Let's talk about some of the cool moves. We talked about one that you mentioned right here. What are some of the things that you've seen so far that other people perhaps haven't been able to do? Actually, you know what? Check that thought. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, we're going to actually look at today's first match. The first two players, Gilja is going to be taking on jookTojung. And here is Gilja. Byungil Sup is his name. And he is a Terran player. Somewhat more familiar to you is Gilja. You mentioned that he's also known as CHRH.
I think I might have been mistaken. That doesn't look... actually, yes, I think I was mistaken. It's not actually CHRH. In that case, I don't actually know anything about him. I've never played him on the ladder. I've never seen him play, so unfortunately I don't have much to add here.
Okay, well, we will meet his opponent in a moment. He is a Terran player. Gilja, actually, in terms of his accolades, doesn't have too much on his profile, so we'll see what he's going to be able to pull off today. His opponent is jookTojung, also known as Jo Man-hyuk, his Korean name. And he is a Zerg player, age 18, made it to the round of 32 in Season 1, so we'll see if he can match that feat tonight.
Yeah, he was one of the few Zerg players who had any success in Season 1. He actually had a really cool match against a Protoss in the round of 64. He did a neat 3-gas muter build that caught the guy completely off guard. I've never seen anything like it. That was one of those cool moves, like what you're talking about before.
All right, well, we'll see if he can pull off something like that today. He does say that the most confidence that he has in terms of other races of playing against is Terran, and that is indeed the race that Gilja is going to be using today. So perhaps in terms of a confidence boost, you probably have to give him the edge. It seems that he's very confident playing against Terran. He's confident with the Mutalisk, as you mentioned, the build order that he went with there.
Yeah, it says here that's his favorite unit, so I can see why he went with that. Against Terran, Mutalisks are very, very good right now. I think everything suits his style very well here. He's playing against a Terran, and he likes mutas, so I think it could go very well for him.
Okay, now you are also a Zerg player, so when you look back on games against Terran, you're going to be able to look at what his strategy is and be able to see what's good and bad with it. What would you be doing if you were a Zerg going against a Terran player?
I prefer using mutas myself. They give you a lot of control over the map, a lot of control over how your opponent plays. You can kind of dictate where they're going and what they're doing because they have to respond to you. So personally, I play very Mutalisk heavy along with Ling Baneling support. And hopefully we'll see something like that out of him too, because I feel that's a very good way to play against Terran, and I'd like to see Zerg success.
Okay, on the flip side, what do you have to watch out for from the Terran standpoint? What do you have to be wary of while you're trying to build up your Mutalisk strategy?
Well, actually, that is the one big problem with Mutalisks, because they're not so strong in a straight-up fight until you have a lot of them. So there are timing rushes that can catch you off guard, and you have to be really careful about that, any kind of timing attack.
Okay, well, we're going to take a look at the maps that they're going to be using for today's match, and the first set is going to be on Lost Temple, as the maps that Gilja did not want were Scrap Station and Jungle Basin. jookTojung did not want to use Steps of War and Delta Quadrant, so here are the maps that we're left with. Set 1, as mentioned, Lost Temple. Set 2 is Metalopolis, and Set 3 is going to be on Zelnaga Caverns. How do you feel about the maps that we have for this TVZ?
Unfortunately for jookTojung, is almost the worst maps you could get out of the remainder. Lost Temple would be a good map for Zerg, except for the cliff over the natural. Like, you can drop a tank or a Thor up there and kill the hatchery before Lair Tech is out. So it's really, really hard to deal with that as Zerg. Metalopolis is normally a good map. If you get vertical positions, it's a very short rush distance, which is bad for Zerg, but it's normally a good map, so he should do well there. He also says that's his favorite map, so that's good for him. But then on Zelnaga, it has a very open natural. It's very hard to defend against Hellion Harass. And it's also a very narrow center, so it's hard to flank. So really, the maps, they favor Gilja. It's not good for Zerg here. Okay,
so if we take a look in terms of the maps and what they say, it looked like Set 1 should go to Gilja, but we'll see if that's the case. Let's go to Set 1. Set 1 is going to be on Lost Temple, and here we go, as Gilja is down at 6 o'clock. There's the official introduction of Gilja, our Terran player. Red Terran down at the 6 o'clock position, and just around the bend from Gilja is jookTojung.
It's not the ideal position for Zerg, but it's good, because you don't have the shortest rush distances. If Terran were at 12 o'clock, then it would be a very close rush distance that makes it very hard for Zerg to defend early. As is, Zerg is going to get his Overlord Scout very quickly. He'll know where the Terran is, and he has time to prepare for any kind of rush.
And as you mentioned, very important is also the fact that jookTojung is indeed sending his Overlord down to the 6 o'clock area, so he's going to spot what Gilja is up to very quickly. Also to mention that the distance between them being, like you said, a far way around, but a short distance through the air. If you talk about Mutalisk harassment, Mutalisk attack, Gilja is going to have to defend a little bit sooner, perhaps. It might just be 5-10 seconds sooner, but that 5-10 seconds might be the difference in this match that might favor jookTojung.
Yeah, definitely. That's another big part about this. As someone who favors air units, it's a big advantage for him to have this.
And moving over to find the supply depot is the overlord of jookTojung, and he's going to spot the barracks being built as well over at the choke point. So he does want to do a bit of a wall off of some sort, not a full wall off.
Yeah, you can tell from the barracks position that he's going to prepare to either put a reactor or a tech lab on it. That'll complete the wall off, and also lets you know that he's going to do some kind of tech build probably.
Meanwhile, jookTojung going to a double hatchery build. Would you say that, I mean, generally speaking, in StarCraft 1, this is a very traditional build. It obviously is carried over to StarCraft 2, going with the double hatchery and spawning pool.
Yeah, it was a very risky build at the start of StarCraft 2, but with the last patch that hit like less than a week ago, you can no longer do barracks before supply depot, which means that it's almost impossible for Terran to pressure against this kind of build. It's now almost completely standard, and it's very, very strong. It helps out Zerg a lot, because you get that extra economy early, and everything just comes out faster. All of Terran's options are now limited. But this is strange. This looks like he's doing a Reaper build anyway.
So a tech lab being added on to the barracks, and we might see some early aggression here from Gilja. Do you think this is something that he planned, or do you think this is something that he planned because of the map that he's on?
I think it's actually a metagame thing. Like, he knows that all of the Zergs are now going fast expansion, and he knows that they don't fear Reapers because Reapers are now not as good. So he's doing this to play mind games with his opponent. Like, he thinks Zerg won't expect the Reaper, so he does that to catch him off guard.
Well, it is the battle of what I know and what you know and what I'm going to do about it. A couple of Zerglings out already chasing after the SCV, and there is the first Reaper out for Gilja. And immediately going on to harass. Queen out to defend against it, and he might lose this early. He's got to be careful. He wants to get some information, but he definitely does not want to lose that Reaper this early on. And it should be able to get away. And Zergling still chasing a second Queen out as well. And he did get some decent information, and fortunately does not lose that Reaper.
Yeah, that was solely a scout. You see, he made a Marauder immediately after. If he intended for it to be pressure, he would have continued making Reapers. So it would have been nice if he could have a few drone kills, but the Reaper served its purpose.
Meanwhile, jookTojung trying to get some information here at Gilja's base, and he's going to run into a couple of Marauders. That's going to take out the Zergling.
Terran's going to... Oh, he's already expanded. Okay. He's done a one barracks fast expansion. The command center's already done, and now he's adding a lot of barracks, which will usually point towards a really strong timing rush right as Mutas come out. And given that jookTojung apparently favors Mutalisk play, this could be really dangerous for him.
And jookTojung is upgrading to a lair, so it does appear very obvious that he does want to do the Mutalisk rush. No surprise there, however.
Yeah, it seems likely. The other options are Hydralisks or Infestors. Hydralisks aren't particularly good versus Terran, and Infestor is kind of a rare play, so there's a very good chance we'll be seeing him go Mutalisk here.
Safe to say so far that nothing really out of the ordinary here. I mean, it seems like both players are playing textbook for their particular race against each other right now.
Yeah, I'd say Gilja might be well, now he would have been a bit of an advantage.
Gilja being surrounded here by Zerglings. He's going to have to back off these Marauders. He might be losing them all. Marauders being chased down by the Zerglings. Plenty of them, by the way. I think this is a fight that he did not want to engage in. And being chased down, he's probably going to lose the last Marauder. He does indeed.
Yeah, that was a really bad decision by Gilja. jookTojung early ran up and saw a lot of Marauders, so he expected a rush and made a lot of extra Zerglings. But since Gilja was expanding behind it, he didn't have enough units even to fight that. It was just a really poor decision to move out there.
And that has left Gilja without any defenses here at his natural expansion. And that is going to slow him down ever so slightly, but it is certainly going to slow him down in terms of...
Spire's almost done.
of mining minerals. And indeed, Spire is just complete now, so it should not be too much longer for Mutalisks to be coming out. Spine Crawler there, by the way, as well for jookTojung, so he's also thinking about the defensive side of it. Probably made that as soon as he saw those Marauders.
Yeah, jookTojung is in a really good position right now, because losing those Marauders early means that Gilja now lost his timing. Usually you could attack around here, or at least keep the Mutas in the base to be defensive, but as is, he has to be the defensive one. He gives up map control by losing those Marauders. And
just 3 Mutalisks out early, 4 of them now, as they're going to be doing some harassment here.
This is really terrible for Terran. The engineering bay isn't even done yet. I don't think he has combat shields for his Marines. He's losing the mules.
And all sorts of trouble. That is going to force Gilja to attack. That's the only option he has right now, as he doesn't have any defenses in his bases. The question is jookTojung going to be able to defend this? He's got the Spine Crawlers with the Zerglings, the Queen out to help out as well, and the Mutalisks actually turn back to aid in this. He's trying to keep them close enough to that Spine Crawler to be able to aid them, and there goes all of the units. This might it even be GG soon.
Yeah, it very well could be. jookTojung is in a very commanding position right now. He's still only on 2 base, but there's almost no way Gilja's going to be able to defend this.
It does not look very pretty right now for Gilja. This could very well be over. We'll have to see if he can hold this off.
He got enough Marines in time. He won't. I didn't expect him to be able to hold that off, but it looks like he will.
Takes down one of the turrets, and that's going to create a little bit of room for the Mutalisks to come back. And here they are. Mutalisk harassment taking down the Marines.
That should be GG.
And it's looking pretty grim.
Yeah.
And all sorts of domination here going on at the base of Gilja. jookTojung on his way to victory by the looks of it. Now remember, this particular map was probably in favor of Terran, and there is the GG. So jookTojung taking the first set, and he's going to be very pleased about that, because he's got his favorite map on the very next match. So set number 2 is favoring jookTojung after taking set number 1 here on Lost Temple. A good game that we saw there from both sides, but the key was probably those early Marauders that got picked off. If that did not happen, we probably would have seen a different game.
Yeah, that was really a questionable decision, because jookTojung obviously thought he was going to do a barracks unit rush after seeing the early Marauders, and that's a pretty predictable reaction. Moving out there with only 4 Marauders when you know speed Zerglings are on the field, yeah, he just kind of handed that to him. But jookTojung played very well and really took advantage of his mistakes. And as you said, he's going into his favorite map, a map that really favors Zerg right now. So it's looking very good for him to take the series, I think.
So often in StarCraft 2, or any kind of RTS game for that matter, you have a plan, and being able to carry it out exactly the way you want to certainly turns out in your favor. That's what we saw there. And let's see if that happens in set number 2.